Kind of an odd situation with so many wings at this point in the battle. The Swedes actually have all 4 of their wings in charge orders. Neat. Of course, that couldn't last. This Swedish right wing ended up 1 unit short of auto rally. They marched forward, made an attack, and were driven back. And then they ended up getting a continuation, so they slipped into the auto rally. That's kind of cool, though. They got the 2 activations, which allowed them to use... not him. Oh, jeez. I used the wrong guy. Use their army commander to rally forces. Oh. Actually, that should have been 2 rallies there. And I think that's what I had there. Get that into place. And then Piccolomini went, and he also went into a rally, an enforced rally. Now, whatever the left wing for the Catholics is, has at least 1 unit kicking around, maybe, no, it looks like more than 1, that isn't going to enforce a rally yet. But they're only in receive charge, so they can kind of do cool stuff anyhow without the rally orders. Swedish infantry having a hard time. This guy moved forward with advancing fire, used a salvo, got a hit in there, but ended up being routed by an attack which again had like a +2 in his favor. These guys are left in charge because their commander down here took a bullet over when he swapped over to this unit to move it forward, and that's kind of a shame. I could have definitely used more activations there, but it's one of the problems with using your leaders right at the front to help rally units and such. Well, or to move units, as is the case in this situation. Still got 2 more Swedish units in charge formation though, or charge orders. In every case, I kind of want to slow this down, but we're seeing the breaks in the line here. This back line of the Catholic force, you can see him kind of making the Stonewall comment about them. They're just standing there like a stone wall on top of their hill, ignoring whatever's going on. And this is all churning into one of those grand messes. The Catholic right flank cav tried to kind of pull back to reform. Got hit a couple of times by the Swedish cav, which had already managed to. Then here in the center, the Catholic center managed to push forward. Mixed results here. You had 1 unit here, took salvo fire, and it got driven back quite a ways. This unit failed to make its attack, so basically their advance, which was supposed to be so impressive, and they built this big flanking screen here, didn't really work. So now this is just a tumbled and ugly mess. They lost a leader here, De Suez again. Let's make some quick checks on these. Let's check De Suez. Okay, he's out. And Hawk. I don't know. They're both out. We'll get them replacements. The Catholic center opens fire. They were in a charge formation. They moved forward a little bit, but for the most part, they've dropped into a make ready, and they've just been engaging in fire combat. They destroyed 1 unit that they had routed on the Swedish advance, but for the most part, they're taking the worst of the straight fire combat, even though they've got the integrated artillery. Morale is really the issue here. So you can see they got a couple of units routing away from that fire. And the Swedish infantry is... I think I screwed up here and moved the reserves when they were in or in make ready before I moved the main infantry, getting confused by the little counters here. No biggie there. You know, it's not a game of precision no matter how you look at it. But anyway, I ended up following up with the main infantry, and they basically shot their way out of this hole. They pushed ahead here though rather than face this forming unit. in the back, which would have been in better shape. They want to try to kill off some of these routers. They don't particularly want to chase them, but they were in charge and had to move forward. They also have this flanking fire over here that they're kind of taking advantage of and getting a good exchange on. Of course, their guns are in danger back here. Oh, they could have moved them up a little more. I forgot to move them on the last. But they are still at risk there, and they got to watch that those don't get captured. Just going to be a risky situation. Maybe the Cav can drive away this infantry. It's positioned terribly if you see it, you know, the flanks and rear to the Cav. But we've seen Cav slam into infantry like that. Now, doing a reaction charge against something like that generally doesn't work too well, but I'm hoping to be able, these aren't actually Cav, these are just lights. I'm hoping to actually do something that'll move, that, you know, I can get enough Cav in there to at least get like a 1 to 2, because that'll improve my odds greatly. These aren't high morale units. I may just knock them off the map by attacking them. And the armies are disorganized enough, although this Swedish line was in pretty good shape. But it had a few issues to deal with, so they remained in received charge as well. But everybody pretty much towards the end of the turn, outside this infantry cluster, was recuperating. And that largely happened. I have one problem back here, which is Carl Gustav, and that would be quite a blow if I lose him. Which is quite likely. Indeed I do. That's another 10-pointer there. I gotta figure out who replaces him, but he's in charge of the reserve infantry, which is kind of intermingled, and some of it down here, some of it over here, some over here, all a mix. I don't know what's where anymore, and it's really tough because there's no formation indicator on the long infantry in this series. They use the formation indicators on the Cav because the Cav is always going to be associated with only one scenario for whatever reason. But because they had some long infantry that got split between scenarios and they couldn't designate, they could have used a slash the same way they use on the counters. No designation was placed on it, and then in the replacement counters they came out to unduplicate the other counters. They kept the same situation in place, which is to say they don't designate the wing that it's on. Usually that's not a big deal. Usually the infantry is all in the center. But in this scenario, there's definitely a problem with the Swedes for that. Alright, well, it just makes things a little more confusing, that's all. I think that's it for tonight. I gotta find my replacement. That's what I gotta do. Okay, things began in kind of an ugly fashion. The Swedish infantry front opened things up. You can see they're still in received charge. They did some formation change there. They're pretty battered though. They got some units back here that are doing reforming type actions. Some fire coming in from here, but for the most part there isn't a lot they could do, and they only got they didn't get a continuation. Then I went over to the Catholic and Imperial infantry, which is in make ready. These guys were in charge and they dropped out of that, and you can see at first I thought they had an involuntary rally because I forgot these two units, but you can see that they've kind of surrounded the hill in this weird sort of fashion. I'm not sure how legitimate this is, but these guys are getting closer to command by the actions they're taking, so I think it's okay. I don't know. Unfortunately, for them, they made the momentum. The Swedes tried to interrupt that or preempt that. They failed here. I think they succeeded up here. I gotta look up to make sure that you're allowed to preempt multiple times. I know you're not in Great Battles of History, but I think in this game you are. Anyway, I really did not want them going into charge and falling on the rear of so many units, etc. So that had me very worried. Okay, so with that interrupt, that ended him, and I looked in the rules. It doesn't seem absolute in either direction. I seem to remember you could do multiple interrupt attempts in this. So that swung the Swedish cavalry wing on the left into action, and oh boy did they really pretty much light up this Catholic cav there. There's still one unit that's functional, and I think that may be all there is. No, there's a formation broken unit here. Took out the commander. They just wiped everything off the board over there. They also, and this was the important thing, hedgehogged these units. And then they dropped into a received charge and kind of pulled away. But they're going to prove to be a serious problem for the Catholic infantry here. Cav can just pretty much freeze infantry. And, well, they finally got their advantage over there. That's going to put it over on, it looks like, a Catholic activation in received charge. At this point, there are a number of those. That number is 2. The Cav wings, I guess. Okay, and as we turn into turn 6, not much more happening. I got a leader to check here for that right wing Cav. And he's going to go in the dead pile for another 5 points. I got to figure out if he's got a replacement. Well, the infantry engagements up on the hill have resulted in something of a loss for the Swedes. Driven off the hill, but also they lost their general there. I almost wish I hadn't fought. I was trying to reform. And painful situation. I'm getting good shots in on this, but it means no continuation possibility, and I probably just should have stood there and taken it and done nothing. Let's get these guns aligned so that they can fire sometime soon. Shoot at that hedgehog, that'll be potent. I'll leave that one there. I haven't been able to figure that one out. But these guns can all would have all unlimbered if I had remembered them. I'm not sure about the other one with the unit leaving. It probably would have slipped up, but they slipped into here, but I don't know. I had firing opportunity there, and I don't really want to set up there. At this point, though, the battle almost seems like it's in this, you know, everything's so beaten up and disorganized that it's really tough to find units able to do anything. The Swedes over here, the Swedish Cav, in both cases, is in pretty good shape. But other than that, I don't know. Alright, well, now it's time for some of the Catholic and Imperial Cav. I'm sorry, I was mistaken. The Swedish Cav wing was in make ready. I didn't notice them. They moved into, well, they did some repairs and then moved into, actually, they slipped into receive charge, reformed, and then jumped back up into charge. And they finished off the rest of this wing. So now there's no Imperial Cav up there at all. That's down one major wing for the Imperials. They're down to 3 now with that tiny little Cav wing down here. That's got to spell pretty bad news for them. It's going to pretty much freeze up any chance of these damaged infantry getting into play again, because they'll just be hedgehogged. The Cav could actually get lucky and make attacks on them if they fail their morale. They're in pretty weak shape right now, as you can see, and it'll probably just be destroyed. The problem with that, of course, is that might mean more Swedes running off the map, which reduces their total ability to field stuff. Better to hedgehog them and drag cannons up and finish them off that way. If only the Swedish infantry can get control of that hill, this battle's over. Because the Imperial Cav is defeated over on this side too as well, I think. Alright, not a lot more. The Swedes over here weren't able to get into charge, neither was the reserve infantry wing. Moving very slowly. This poor guy got cut off by these guys. Actually, I'm happy about that. So now he's turning... Whoops. No, he's not allowed to do that either. I would have put him next to him. He's really got nowhere to go. It's just a matter of which way he can swing. He can't get out of there because he's right next to another unit and then jammed in with these. Of course, if this breaks, he can swing around this way. But this has really turned into something of a traffic jam here. I got a few routed units to move. This guy I haven't been able to fix. 4. That should be it for routed. And I got a couple of leaders. This guy, yeah, we'll check to see if he's dead or just off the map. Yeah, he's essentially dead. No need to look for a replacement. His command is destroyed. And this guy as well, Montagne. He's in charge of the other infantry wing, which is, I think, the main infantry wing. I gotta look to see if he's got a replacement. But otherwise, this is going up.